do that. There we go. All right. So this is day 10 of Immerse October Madness, where we are wrapping up how to think about client support. Have you ever thought about that? That's something we were asked yesterday, is before you know how to do something well, you have to think about it well. So that's where it really starts, way back here, is when we think about client support, what kind of things are we thinking about? And what kind of things do we need to embrace that maybe haven't entered our realm of thinking before? And I hope that this week has been valuable for you. Do you guys feel stronger to go into your check-ins? Do you feel stronger? Put a 1 in the chat. And if you don't, that's okay. We don't need a bunch of 1s. If it's not true, maybe it is true for you. Maybe you're still processing. No worries. But if you're feeling stronger to go into your check-ins and engage with your clients, that would be a win, right? The other thing I want you to think about is, what more do you need? What more do you need in client support? So after today, if you feel like I need a little bit more over here, or I'd like us to expand a little bit more over here, because let's face it, we can't hit all things, right? Those things will go into our power hours. And that's where we're going to continue to get better together. Yesterday, when we walked in the room at Sundance, they said, you guys are really good, but we're going to make you better. And I was like, man, that's such a loving, I feel loved when someone says, I'm going to help you get better than you already are. And so that's what we have for you guys as well. So I don't want to take too much time today, because we've got some incredible trainers and team members and even some people outside of our team that are going to come and love on you guys today. And I'm really excited about that. So let me go ahead and get us started. Today, we're going to talk about the client check-in, and also even potentially how to handle the orders, right? So some of us don't know the soft skills on how to help clients order well. How do we help clients to think about program better? So instead of getting them to do their program better and us feeling like, oh, I got to get them to do this better, they're not doing it the right way. Our role, how many of you feel like a leader in your health right now? Put a 2 in the chat. If you feel like, I feel like I'm becoming a leader in my health. Okay. Leaders create leaders. So our role is to create other leaders so that our clients can too be leaders in their health and join us on this mission. So a lot of what you're learning is how to transfer everything you already know how to do into your clients and awaken them and have them think about it differently. And so I'm excited this morning to introduce Presidential Director Tim Richards. He is going to help you guys really sharpen up that client interaction phase. And then he's going to pass it back to me, and I'll introduce our mindset coaches for today. So with no further ado, I'm going to be super fancy and watch this, you guys.
Hey guys, happy Friday. All right, well, we're going to jump right in. I'm going to be really honest with you. I am super excited to talk with you this morning about client support, specifically around the check-in, or I should say check-ins. You know, one of the things that is really cool about the check-in is it really gives you the opportunity to listen. It gives you the opportunity to connect with your client in a way that's probably different than they're expecting. And so you're going to, I think today you may be empowered to go into these check-ins this week, even this weekend for some of you that do your check-ins on the weekend, and really start to connect much differently and have full permission to start over. Like, hey, I want to enter in a new way of connecting with you. And we're going to meet on Zoom. Notice I said we're going to meet on Zoom because the work that you're going to be doing with them is going to need you to have a lot of trust. You're going to need to have a lot of trust. Let me say that better. Yeah, you're going to need to have a lot of trust to do this work. So what I want to do with you, and some of you know this, what I'm going to do, because a lot of you I've coached personally. And so this is how we do the check-in. So I kind of want to just review the structure of the check-in really quick. And by the way, one of the things that you can do yourself and your client a huge favor is to tell them ahead of time what they're going to experience. I like to do that on the health assessment. I like to let them know we're going to meet once a week for 7 to 10 minutes. And we're not going to talk about your weight, maybe just the first week, but we're actually going to focus on the things that are going to keep the weight off. We're also going to deal with why we all put the weight back on once we lose it. And so we're going to be exercising that 3.5 pound muscle in between your ears. So, first week, I just want to review the structure. First week, I set that up on the night before call. We're going to meet on this day. This is going to be day 8. I'm super excited for you. We're going to do a few things that day. And if you haven't watched the video and organic coaching, please do yourself a favor, get this started, man. This is so helpful for your clients and for you, where you teach them how to change their order. We're not going to go over that today, where you're showing them where their rewards are, where their, oh gosh, why can't I think of it? Wellness credits are, where you say, you see how these are 0? I'm going to teach you how to share this program. Remember, I told you I was going to teach you how to share this program. This is where I'm going to be putting in wellness credits for every person that you're going to help get healthy until you're ready to start helping me getting them healthy. And I'm going to put $25 here times how many other people you bring on this mission and help me connect to the mission that's feeding you, that what is helping you to get healthy. And so I show them this is where it's going to go. And this comes right off your order, right? We introduce them to Nourish. We do all those things. We connect with them around what they're learning in the introduction. One takeaway, doesn't have to be laborious. And you don't have to say a whole lot about it other than that's awesome. That's what I got. Or I love that you got that. How is that for you? How is this going to help you this week? That's it, right? And so you let them know, hey, next week we're going to meet with my coach. I'm super excited about that with you. I can't wait for you to meet him or her, right? And so you set them up for the second week call, right? This check-in that I'm talking about today is really about the weekly check-in that you do from here on out, right? Where after you've done the week 1 and the week 2 with your mentor, now week 3, where you're checking in on a regular basis. And they may be coaching by then. They may not, but it's going to be extremely important that if they are coaching, that you continue to do these check-ins this way, right? Because we want to put the client in the center and they're still the client. So we want to make sure we're doing the check-in. So what I do is I always, before I get off of the check-in with my client, I'm always scheduling right away when our next time to meet is. So I save about a minute and I go, hey, when can we meet next? I have my calendar up. How's Tuesday work for you? Great. I have it locked in. Great. I don't have a lot of people not showing up because they're finding value and we scheduled it together. So when we meet, first thing I'm doing is just catching up for about a couple minutes. How are you? What's new? What's going on? Right? Checking in. I give them a little personal about what's going on, update with me. Hey, I'm on my way out. I'm going to a hike with Dr. A. Or I was telling everybody this week, I'm going to go spend the weekend with Dr. A. I'm super excited. I'll send you guys some pictures. Check out my Instagram. So I give them a little bit of what's going on with me. I check in with them and then we get right into it. I go, okay, and I have my books in front of me, both of them. And I go, remind me again where we are. Oh, okay, we're in element 3. Great, you're tracking with the book club. I love it. I love it. Awesome. I love seeing you there. It's so cool. I'm loving that you're loving it. And I'm grateful that you're part of the community. So you're in element 3 this week, or maybe you're in the Habits of Health book. What really stirred you this week? What was something that really caught your eye? I'm asking them as opposed to me coming in as a teacher to want to tell them what they should have saw. And for a lot of people, I can tell right away, they'll say, I didn't get a lot done. I go, that's okay. That's okay. What did you get done? Like, what did you connect to in here? Was there anything in here? And you're like, well, I only read like 2 pages. I'm like, cool. That's okay. I'm loving that you're reading. In those couple pages, was there anything that stood out or that you highlight? And they'll say, well, there was this one thing, or there was this thing on the book challenge, and I was really curious about this, or I don't really understand the difference between the empowerment triangle. How do I use that versus the drama triangle? And I said, man, that's a great question. That's just one of the questions that I had. Like, I actually have, like, how do I keep this in the forefront of my mind? And so all I'm doing, because I'm in my life book and habits of health system, right? That I'm going, when I read this or when I read this, here's what I'm seeing. This is my experience. Can I tell you what's hard about that for me? This is what I'm still working on today. Here's how I use Stop, Challenge, Choose to help me to start to think differently. I allow the pause to go, okay, what tool can I use to change the outcome of my response? And so I oftentimes I will go to the observer role. And then I use the empowerment triangle to help me to think differently. So it's not happening to me and there's no one to blame. I think, how can I be the creator in this situation? Meaning, how can I create a win situation where I'm not a victim to what's happening to me, right? Just as an example. Maybe they're in element 2 and they're going through this and they're like, yeah, I rated all these things and I'm not really sure. And I go, I had the very same thing happen. Or I'll say, you know what, here's how I see it. How I see it is, this is just your level of readiness. Like, all of these 6 things are really cool things, but do you notice how Dr. A is really asking you this? Which areas, the top 1, 2, 3, are the areas that you're like, I'm actually ready and open and curious for you to help me to get better with my sleep. Like, I've had some clients that are like, this is off limits because I like to stay up. And I'm like, okay, no problem. What areas can I help you to grow in, right? So do you notice that a lot of this requires you to be in your life book? It's awesome if you think about it, right? Because who doesn't want to show up as a fraud? Who doesn't want to show up and them know more than you, right? Where you're like, I've never read this section, right? Maybe they're in element 9 and you're like, man, I haven't read element 9 ever, right? So the cool thing is you get to be in your life book too, right? You're the client first, you're guiding other people. And then that way you're not making it so weird. You're making it just about connecting with somebody else really authentically. And then I like to go, okay, man, some really cool stuff that we talked about. What are some things that you think we can put in action this week that will help drive your why forward, right? And so a lot of times I'm using specific things. So I say, I know you're here because you said, I want to be here for my grandchildren, that your health is declining. You've had some cues when we met, things are getting better, but you're still struggling with X, Y, or Z. So what would be in service to your why this week? What is going to help you get into action around this? What things can we use that we've learned? Maybe they're things they haven't learned. Maybe they're in element 1 and they haven't learned about the habit loop and the cue. And you can go, turn to this page. Turn to this page with me, will you? I love this. This part right here is really cool. And this is how I've used it. How do you think you could use it? As opposed to telling them, put your book under your coffee cup next to your coffee pot. You may say, this is how I do it, but you say, how would this work for you? What's already a habit that you can just insert this here to? Does that make sense? Are you guys tracking with me? Put a 1 in the chat if you're like, I'm with you, or 2, I'm completely lost, because I'd love to bring it in if there's some clarity that I can bring. Good. I'm seeing a lot of 1s. I love it. I want you to realize that you are not there to be the thing that they have always had in this setting, which is, how much do you weigh? How many inches did you lose this week? Did you eat all 5 fuelings, right? Is there a time for that? Yeah, it's week 1. Is there another time for that? Yeah, when they're like, I gained weight this week, and you're like, oh, that's interesting, because our program has a component to help you to gain weight if you need that, but that's not the program that you're on. So let me help you. Let's do a system check-in, right? You guys have all done system check because we've done them with you. And then you go, or you can ask them, what do you think that it was? What is it, right? So you can always pivot. Here's the other thing. If you're having a struggling client, we talked about this yesterday, will you do them a solid and say, will you turn with me in the Habits of Health book to page 77 and 78? And then ask them, where are you? Giving them a minute, like take 5 minutes and read this with me. I'm going to read it too. And then if they find themselves on step 6 of change, you're like, do you see? It's just part of our human condition that we're going to make incremental growth over and over and over, right? And that growth is going to equal consistency, and consistency over time is how we change. It's not going to be leaps and bounds. Remember, the goal was always to lose the weight and keep it off and to learn a different way so that you can enjoy your grandkids long-term. So if it took you 50 years to get to where you are today, it's not going to take 50 years, but it's going to take longer than the time it's going to take for you to lose your weight. And so we're going to need, I tell people from the very first moment we're on health assessment, and I'm going to wrap up with this here, is this. I say, do you know why we're on Zoom? I don't, you're probably used to being on Zoom, maybe at work or whatever, but maybe not. But can I just tell you, the work that we're going to have to do is going to require us to get to know each other. You're going to have to trust that what I'm saying is for you. And that I know, because you're a human being like me, that we need to connect. You need to see my facial expressions. You need to understand like where this passion comes from. Like, Tim, why are you so passionate? And you'll know it's not I'm reading from a script or I have a headset on, I'm sitting in a cubicle. It's like I'm connecting from here. This passion is real, right? And so give them the opportunity to grow when you lean forward and say, we're going to need to connect here. Now, I'm going to just say right away, are you going to be able to do that every time? No. But I'm going to tell you, I always put my best foot forward and say, and schedule when I can. When I can connect with them on Zoom, then that's when I'm going to do that. When I can be present and I can do what we talked about earlier, or on a couple calls ago, we did a level 2 listening where I can just be intentional about listening and experiencing how they're experiencing what they're saying. Like, this is the way to go deeper. You don't have to be the counselor, right? All you're doing, because you're doing your own personal development work, you're able to connect with them a little better. You're a little healthier. And so that you know what's working for you is going to work with them, right? Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. I'm super excited. I'm going to take some pictures. We're going to hike this mountain. It's so cool. I looked at it yesterday. It's called Stewart Falls. And I'll send some picture I put in my Instagram thread. Thank you guys this morning.
All right, who wants some of the coffee that Tim's drinking this morning? Anybody?
It's every day.
Oh, it's so good. All right, so just a couple things before I queue up our next speakers, which is just such a treat. I want you guys to think bigger. So every time we get together as a family, and we are a family on the same mission, and then this is something that hit me yesterday, there'll be an emancipation of this family, right? That means you're outgrowing us. Your clients are going to outgrow you. So there's planned emancipation in this relationship. And that's pretty awesome. And as I think about that, I want you to think a little bit bigger. So put in the chat, yes, nitro cold brew. Actually, didn't get any this morning. Put in the chat what you like. If we were trying to earn enough relationship and trust to justify an expense, what is the expense that we're trying to justify with our client? Just put that number in the chat. We need to drive enough value, right? Trust and relationship to justify their purchase, because there is a transaction that leads to this transformation. So put in the chat, what number is that? Thank you, Julie. Absolutely. It's about $5,000. Okay. It's not $400. And that's why we don't feel that we can afford to cut corners and not have bold client support. something they want to come back to, because it's not $400 a month. Our program takes a year to even crack the code a little. And for them to start thinking differently and rewrite their story, it takes 12 months at minimum, right? Think about your own journey. So when we're engaging, we're not engaging to justify a $420 box. We're engaging to justify a year on program. And that really cues me up well to introduce Andrew and Cindy Kidd, global directors. They've been married about 18 years. They live in Colorado now, and they really are designing a life that makes sense for them and their family. And it's very inspiring. And the reason we have them on today is because they have a like-mindedness around client support, and they are thinking bigger, and they are adding value to not only their clients, but their coaches that are still clients. And I love it. And I just think it's awesome. So you're in for a real big treat today. I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Oh, guys, thank you for having us on. I'm listening to Tim talk, and it's everything that he says is we align with, and his philosophy, well, your guys' philosophies, I should say. And before I kind of get into our story, I used to look at Rachel and Tim's numbers all the time. And I would say, gosh, they have a high frontline volume. I go, well, maybe they're just bringing on a crap ton of people. And so I asked the Bombas, because I don't, Tim and I, we went, and Rachel, we don't talk all the time, but I said, hey, last month I asked Michelle, I said, I'm just curious, how many people do they bring on? And I think that month it was like 7. But they keep such a high frontline volume. And the reason behind that, and which I know, because we've been doing this a long time, is client support. And they're doing it very, very well. I mean, even in the tough times, they're sitting over at 20,000 frontline volume, for crying out loud. That was not a thing 3 years ago. So listen to everything they say and implement the things that they say, because what Tim just shared is incredible. And we share that sort of things with our teams as well. So I'll start back. It all kind of blends in together, I promise. But in 2018, we were EDs 3 months in, and things to set the stage, things were not like they are now. You get trainings now that didn't exist three years ago. And Jamil was there, by the way. He was still in the picture, but nobody talked like this about client support. And so 3 months in, we go to convention. And here's a story that a lot of people don't know, to kind of do it on the Bombas a little bit. But we couldn't afford to go. And the Bombas knew how important it was for us to go. And they said, we're going to pay for your hotel, and you just get yourself there, you and Cindy there, and we'll pay for your hotel there, and just cover your food and get yourself there. And that's what we did. And that was a hell of an investment for them. How did that turn out, huh? Turned out pretty well, right? So we get there, and we're in convention. And by the way, just to set the stage, we don't have any client support. We in fact, in convention, I look over to Cindy, I go, did you call Rick? I haven't talked to Rick in 2 weeks. Oh, crap. And I'm over here texting Rick. Hey, Rick, hope you're doing okay. How's the things going? My client support was garbage. And I didn't know any better, because nobody knew any better. And someone comes on stage and talks about how you need to have your clients in a calendar and a weekly call schedule with them. And here's why. And I'm like, we're doing that. When we get home, we are doing that. And then we had a break. I'm like, Michelle, how do you, what was your client support? Like, it wasn't like the person that was on stage. It wasn't like that at all. And that was, so it was a huge shift. The other shift, which is unrelated to client support, was them talking about coaches and bringing on coaches. And I remember Josh always talking about that, but of course I didn't hear Josh talking about how if you want to grow a business, you need to inspire coaches. And that was another thing. We're going to go talk to people about coaching. That was another thing we talked about at convention. So we came home, and I called all our clients, and I said, listen, we got to have a weekly call, and this needs to happen. And that's kind of that's when our business actually started to grow, when our client support became something more than, hey, how are things going? Or being a text message coach. Text message coach is one of the horriblest things you could do in your business, because there's no relationship. And so, Tim's talking about all these things. He's setting the stage. He says, we're talking about food for the first week. And then unless there's a problem, we're not talking about the food. And so relationship and building trust is everything. I mean, everything in this business. It's with your clients and it's with your coaches. It's everything. If Tim and Rachel don't have trust with you, then you're not listening to a thing they say on here. It doesn't matter. It's everything. I mean, so much to the point where if you guys don't have this book, read it. It's called The Speed of Trust. It's so important. So anyways, one of the major things that helped us in our business before, there was no life book when we started, was relationship. So Cindy and I spend a lot of time personally building relationship with people. So like Tim said, everything Tim said is 100%. But that's one of the things we do is we make sure we can get to know them. And so clients are more likely to ride out the hard times with you when you have a connection and a relationship. And it is played ourselves. Here's the thing, guys, we are not client acquisition monsters, but we are usually in the top 5 of the Bombas organization for frontline volume. And that I can honestly, and that was the only thing we can contribute it to is our client support. That's it. Because we maybe bring on 3, and when we have some incentive, yeah, we brought on 10 with the incentive, but there are people that doubled that. We usually bring on like what, 3 to 5, maybe. But that's how we maintain such a high frontline volume ourselves. So that's how I know that Tim and Richard are doing what they're doing, because that's what we do. And so trust is incredibly important. So be open to apologizing when you make mistakes. Keep your appointments, because if you ask about their family, ask about them. One of the things that used to happen early on was coaches would ask us, we were growing quickly at the time, and they'd said, well, what do you do on phone calls? I can't get people to get on phone calls. And I go, well, are your phone calls, hey, how much did you weigh? And that's it, because I wouldn't get on a phone call with you either, because that's boring. I know what you're going to say every week. That sucks. So, but if I know that you're going to ask about me and how I'm doing, other than just about weight, they're more likely to get on. And so that was one of the bigger takeaways early in our career, where we had a major shift in that. I have more to say, and they're all in these notes. Do you want to add anything that I said so far? I've got like
To be like good housekeeping, you guys have plenty of time.
Okay.
I'm like literally like, I know on trains we're like rush, not today. So like literally just take your time.
I want to make sure I didn't dominate the conversation.
No, I mean, he's nailed a lot of it. It really is about building relationships on these calls, and we're not perfect, you guys. And I think like what Andrew said earlier about like apologize for your mistakes. I mean, it doesn't mean we don't occasionally miss a call here and there. It's just we've built so much trust with our clients that they know we're not doing it on purpose. It's, oh, they probably had a valid reason as to why they missed my call today. But it really is relationship building. And a lot of times on our calls, I'm not going to put a specific time limit, because that time limit that you want to have with your clients is completely up to you and your schedule. But I make sure I invest time in our clients and our weekly phone calls. And like Tim said, it's very, very rare that we talk about what are you eating, how much do you weigh, unless there's an issue and we're trying to troubleshoot and do a systems check. Otherwise, we know food's not the issue. It's all the reasons why we go to food that are the issue. So I have clients sharing things with me that they probably wouldn't share with people otherwise about some of the hard times that they're having in their life. That's what they need, you guys, because if they don't have someone to talk to and work through those issues with, we're not counselors by any means, but there's elements of the life book to help navigate these situations. And the more they know that we care about them and not just them being a number on, our client list, or that we care about the number on the scale, they're going to come back. I mean, we have clients that have been clients for over a year. And honestly, it's not like they're losing weight every single week. They're still clients week after week and month after month because of that relationship, and because they know how important it is to contend with their health. And so any opportunity we have to build community and to build those relationships stronger, we do it, whether it's book clubs, whether it's in-person meetups, anything, because that relationship is key. If you don't have that relationship, it's super easy to ghost me every week, right? I don't know Cindy, so why am I going to talk to Cindy? She's just, if a client was an internet lead and I'm not doing anything to build that relationship, well, that client doesn't even know me. So, well, I don't feel like answering Cindy's call. So I'm going to do everything in my effort to build that relationship early on and get to know them, figure out what our commonalities are, remember those things next time I talk to them so they recognize I'm listening to them during their phone calls. Those things are important. In fact, one of our coaches said, have a Ford file. And a Ford file keeps track of just kind of some hot topic things about them, their family, their occupation, their relationship, their dreams. That way, every time they tell you something every week, jot that down and come back to it the next week, because that helps build trust when they recognize like, oh, she's paying attention and it's not just about the food I'm eating. She actually cares about me as a person. So I highly suggest doing that for yourselves as well.
Yeah, and I'll close with this. For me, us close. Rachel gets close when she wants to. Listen, if someone doesn't trust you and they don't have a good experience because you're not being a good coach to them, why the heck would they want to coach with you? If you look at organizations, you can look at the Bombas organization, you can look at Tim and Richard's organization, you can look at our organization. We have a very close relationships with our coaches. I mean, and I can just, Anna was somebody that, Anna's an integrated national director, someone that Cindy worked with. Eric Boyette, you've probably seen him on trainings. He was actually my first PI trainer when I was a private investigator, almost 20 years ago now, right? Katie Shostak is an executive director with us, and that was somebody Cindy went to high school with. There are relationships and trust there built in for years. If you look at the Bombas organization, I mean, did you guys know that our Cindy is Michelle's cousin? There's a relationship there, right? Like even in my brother and sister-in-law, Chris and Andrea. You guys, I probably didn't know that because they go by different names. They are part of our organization. The trust there. You look at Jamil's and who's in there. Justin Avini was like his buddy, and Emily is somebody she went to high school with, and Annika Relaford was somebody he went to high school with. There's something to that, the relationships that have gone so long, there's a trust there. So kind of keep that in mind. If you're not given a good client support and you're not building relationships, then there's probably not a reason why someone's going to come on and do this with you and trust you to guide them and lead them on this coaching journey as well. So that's all I have for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you two. We really appreciate you getting up early and showing up for us and giving us just some amazing wisdom. A couple things. Yeah, everyone's like, so freaking good. It is. It's amazing. You know, just being here this weekend too, and just seeing how to level up. Like there are people in these rooms that are just absolutely helping us to level up. And it feels great. It's scary. It shows my gaps for sure. But I'm thankful that I get to become more with all of you. And I know that I'm not alone when I can see and recognize those gaps. So something to do today, notice what's missing from the shares today. So if you're like, I notice that this is not in my client support bag. I don't have that posture. I'm not saying that. Can you notice it without judging yourself, comparing yourself, or allowing any stinking thinking to come in and deflate you from getting into action? Because sometimes these convictions of like, oh, I'm not doing that, without personal development, convictions can shut you down or they can fire you up. You guys get to choose this morning exactly how you'll let that happen. Are you going to let it fire you up and lean in to the client, or are you going to let it shut you down? That's the very first thing to notice about your thoughts right now. Like call your chatter out right now and say, ooh, I already started to go, oh, see, I'm not a good health coach. I'm not doing all those things. It's okay that you're not doing those things. That's why you're in this room, right? That's why we're in these Zooms, because we know that. And guys, does community, let me ask you a question. When you get on any kind of community with Optavia, whether you're at convention, whether you're on Monday night, whether you're on a health and hope night, do you feel like the community is rounding out your edges for you? Meaning it's standing in the gaps for not yet. So when you get a client on the book challenge, you don't have to be all these things for them every week. Not to say we don't want to develop it, but do you see how the community stands in the gap for the things that you are not yet, and make sure you hold on to yet, because you guys have everything in you to develop this over time if you keep showing up. And yes, trainings are repetitious. Yes, because it takes that repetition to start thinking about this differently. So community rounds out our edges. That's why we contend for community for the client. And we say, this is going to be so important. Another key way to build trust with clients, Tim hit on it, but I want to hit on it a little bit more before we close. Tell the client what's going to happen before it happens. Okay, you get to be like a little prophet. So you could say, can I just tell you something? You're going to get your box and you're going to want to just eat the food. And your weeks are going, I remember your health assessment. Your weeks are so busy that you're probably going to want to push out your check-ins. And you may even feel like you don't even have 5 minutes to read. That's how I felt. So unpack whatever you guys think is a problem, right? An opportunity. Tell them this is going to happen. I've been coaching for a while, and can I just tell you that clients, they really don't know how to not diet. And that's okay. You're going to want to just eat the food. I did too. Okay. But remember where that's going to take us back to your current reality. You're going to want to get to your reading after your entire day is over, and you're going to be too tired to do it. So why don't we just set an alarm at a point in your day where you're not too tired to do it? And let's do that right now so we can set you up for success. Because if you're anything like me, you're going to save it to the end of your day and you're not going to want to do it. Okay. So like, this is your experience that qualifies you to coach. There is no expertise. You are the subject matter expert of your health journey. That's what qualified you to coach. Okay. Your health journey. So in closing today, we're going to get out a little early today and let you guys go get fired up and support some clients. So I don't have the action items on a PowerPoint today because that thing is at home, but write these down with me. So today, action item number 1, apologize, die on the sword for any areas of your client support that could be watering down the client's experience. Apologize, die on the sword. So let them know, Tammy, I'm calling you today because I owe you an apology. She's going to go, what are you talking about? I owe you an apology. I have been watering down parts of this program that have changed my life. And I have been a little timid in areas where I really want to contend for you. But I have backed off of some of the convictions that I have, and I want to invite you to join Book Challenge tomorrow with me with your camera on at 9:00 Pacific Standard. And I just want to give you the gift of community, because I promise you this community has changed my life. And I was thinking of you today, and I was thinking how I've been soft in an area that will radically change your outcome. Do you forgive me for kind of being in the friend zone a little bit and not exactly contending as your coach, as your guide? And they're going to say, oh my God, you do not owe me an apology. Oh my God, you're being so silly. Yes, I will get on. Try it. Try it in any area that you've been watering down the program. And I can't wait for you guys to blow up the group with what happens and who you see on Book Challenge and who starts opening their book. That's my number 1 action item. Number 2, look at your map. Does everybody have a check-in? And if they don't, call them, personally call, leave the voicemail, urge them. I know that I've been busy, you've been busy. This is not fair to you. You need someone to process this magnificent transformation with every week. It's like writing a letter to yourself, and I'm going to sit there and let you read it to me. I want to hear you and see you every week, because I invited you to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And these check-ins are really, really important for me to know how to support you the best way possible. So can we get that scheduled this week? I noticed you're not on my calendar. Okay, contend, and follow up on your invites for book club, of course. And then just so you guys know, on the 23rd, we are going to have a special book club. So that I'm telling you this early so that you can tell your clients. On the 23rd, we're going to talk about how do I do this during the holidays? And we're going to have so many of the coaches on that got into fat burn at Thanksgiving, during Christmas. And they're going to share inspiring ways that they stayed focused on their why. And we're going to give your client 3 different options for their holiday plan. Okay. And they get to choose with you and you get to run point with that. So we're going to support, basically add value. We're going to add value when it's easy to pull away. It's normal to pull away. Well, it's the holidays. I guess my business is just going to tank until February. No, ma'am. No, sir. Like, we are going to lean in and we are going to add so much stinking value to our clients. When the going gets tough, we're going, right? So let's take that posture today and protect that. Thank you guys so much for investing in yourselves this morning and for showing up. And I can't wait to see what this is going to do for your friendships and your client support, and who's going to want to coach with you, because they're going to have breakthrough. They're going to have legitimate breakthrough, and they're not going to want to leave this community just like you and I didn't. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Tim. He's off hiking. And we'll see you guys Monday. Enjoy the weekend catching up on all your Elevate steps, and just take a breath and have fun with it. Take care, everyone.